2 years ago, I started developing an app that I not only thought would become extremely popular, but could eventually grow to be something bigger. But here's the thing, that plan didn't work out. Today, I'm going to share the story of Aria, but more importantly, the lessons I learned from spending 2 years developing what I thought could be a pretty cool app. So, whether you're an aspiring app developer, entrepreneur, or simply interested in the app development process, I'm going to go over the four biggest lessons I learned from spending the past 2 years developing Aria. Before I go into the lessons I learned, I think it's important to see where the project began and where I was as a developer. So let me take you back about 3 years ago. I was a senior computer science student brainstorming with a friend, and we started talking about app ideas. That's when we came up with the initial idea that really stuck with me. What if we could use a Tinder-like swiping mechanism to help people grow their Spotify playlists? Users could swipe on songs, add the ones that they liked to their playlist, or even create a new playlist right on the spot. It seemed like a simple and fun way to find new music that I hadn't seen done before. Fast forward a year later, I had graduated and I was finally ready to bring the idea to life. By that time, I'd started learning Flutter outside of work. As a solo developer, Flutter seemed like the perfect choice. I could write the code once and have it run on iOS and Android at the same time. I also wasn't really into JavaScript at that time, so I didn't want to use React Native, so Flutter seemed like an even better choice. This was going to be my first major project, so I wanted to see what I could really do. I wanted to see how far I could push myself to create an actual product. I'd started building the backend on AWS. I was learning about cloud architecture, trying to figure out all of the different services that AWS provides and how to structure the app. But as the project grew, I definitely needed a simpler solution to help get development done faster. That's when I made the switch to Firebase. It was way more intuitive and made things way easier, especially as a solo developer doing all of the work. The app idea itself was also evolving. What started as a way for people to expand their Spotify playlists quickly grew in scope. I wanted it to be a place where users of all different platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, they could all create and share playlists with each other. I even started envisioning this kind of social network for people who enjoyed listening to music where users could discover new songs and find concerts nearby. They could see what playlist their friends had, and they could overall just connect to other people based on their music. But as I got deeper into development, I realized there was a pretty major roadblock ahead. I hadn't thoroughly read through the Spotify and Apple Music terms of service, but when I finally did, I was kind of stuck. Not only would I not be able to store the different IDs that I needed to due to data privacy restrictions, but I also wouldn't be able to monetize the app. And in order to make things sustainable, I needed some form of monetization, not necessarily to make a ton of money from this project, but just to cover the cost of infrastructure on Google Cloud. Without it, I would definitely just be putting money into this app every single month just to keep it running. So with all of those kind of roadblocks and restrictions in mind, I decided to stop developing Aria. It was annoying to let go because I don't like giving up. I'm not the type of person just to give up on something that I want to do. But given all of the earlier restrictions, it wouldn't have been smart for me to just try to make it work whenever I could move on to something bigger and better and try to make an actual product that people could use. So that was kind of the whole story of Aria. But one of the most important things that you can do whenever you are building your own projects or even projects at your job is look back and learn from your previous mistakes. As Henry Ford said, failure is simply the opportunity to begin again, but this time more intelligently. So here's what I learned from Aria. Number one is to validate your ideas early. This is pretty crucial. You need to make sure that your idea that you're going to pour all of your time and energy into is even possible, but then also viable. Can this idea fund itself, or is it going to do what it would have done to me and just take all of your money? With Aria, I definitely just got so caught up in the concept that I overlooked these early signs that I should have moved on. Looking back, I definitely would have put more time in the beginning to testing if this is viable, allowed, feasible, and if I could monetize it just to keep it sustainable. The thing is, even if you do validate your idea early, that's only the beginning. That's just step one. The second thing that I learned from Aria is that you should build the app that you want to use. It might sound like a no-brainer, but it's surprisingly easy to get attached to an idea simply because it's yours. I was so focused on adding cool features that I didn't stop to genuinely ask myself, would I use this? I was more caught up in the fact that it was mine. So it's more important to stay objective and be honest with yourself about the usability of your app. If you wouldn't be a user of your app, who is going to be a user of your app? The third challenge that I really learned from is scope creep. I kind of mentioned it in the story. The idea started off pretty simple, and I'm sure I'll have clips of the initial idea working. Probably right here. But that simple idea grew into something completely unmanageable, especially for a solo developer trying to do all of it. In the future, I'm definitely going to just focus on the MVP, get the MVP to users, and then slowly build on it from there. With Aria, I kept adding more features thinking that it would save the idea, but all it did was take up more of my time. I did learn from it, and I learned a lot of technical skills, so that is a plus, but I was just trying to save a dead idea with more features. The last thing that I would want to bring up is don't be afraid to change ideas. This is probably the hardest one. Walking away from something that you've put a ton of time into is definitely hard, and like I kind of mentioned before, it's your idea, you want it to work, but sometimes you just have to give it up and try something new. I already know that there's a few ideas that I have that I want to start working on. I have a ton to learn for them, but I wouldn't be able to work on those if I was trying to still get Aria to work, even though it won't. So this could kind of all lead to the question of, do I regret spending all of this time developing Aria? Honestly, no. I don't regret most of the time. Realistically, I probably could have learned most of these lessons after 1 year of developing the app, but I learned so much from this 2 year span that I think it was worth it. Like I said, after a year, I probably could have stopped, but I didn't. So what are you gonna do? In my future work, I'm definitely excited to dive into web apps and try to use some of the skills that I've learned from Flutter and apply them to other web frameworks and see what I can do with that. But keep working on different ideas. I know that's what I'm going to do, is just keep trying to build different things. That's how I feel I learn the best, at least. So that was kind of the story of how Aria failed and how it just wasn't meant to be. So if you did enjoy the video, let me know. Let me know if you've had any similar experiences, but that was all I had for you. I'll see you all later.